During this time of the year, what happens is the sun is so low that this part of the year never really gets any proper sunshine, and only just a patch over there does become uncovered. As you can see, there is just a bit of sunlight on the top of the lockup. That, you'd imagine, would be warming it up. As you can see though, the whole yard is in the shade of the hill. Over there we can see houses that are in daylight, yard not in daylight. And it's starting to wear just a little bit thin, because although when I get into the lockup I could try the trick that I did yesterday, which was to warm up Toby Charles and then put Toby Charles back inside again to make the lockup a bit warmer. Yeah, I've already thought about doing that. I can't even get in because the doors on this car are frozen solid. You can see that's open. Oh no, just about managed it. That took a bit of doing. As you can see from the reclined position of the passenger seat there, this is what I had to do the other day. And this is how I have to manoeuvre this car. Although of course it has started with these, which is something. But how far do I go? Can't really drive it down the yard. Just got to the gate. The door. Yes, the door. It's a little bit close. Having access to the lockup, of course, after a while of scraping and clambering through the car, we can see there is a strip of sunlight in a place where I don't really need it. One of the biggest problems with this time of year, not so much this time of year, but this cold, is batteries and how the cold affects batteries. It basically kills them. If you let your battery go low, whilst it's this cold, it can bugger them up. And that's a big concern for me, due to the amount of cars that are knocking about here. Well, Janet Jackson here has got a really good strong battery, but for an L series it needs to be fully charged as well. And I've just got in by the application of warm water all around the door. That means water from the kettle, which also means using up the water left in the jug from yesterday, which I won't be able to replace just yet to have a cup of tea because the water will be frozen in the taps. Anyway, as expected, not quite enough juice in the battery to get it going, and that's a problem. You know what, this is why I'm happy to fund stuff like this in my videos. I can't just leave this running because there's not that much diesel left in it, and not only that, ticking over doesn't really charge the battery. So I need to move this one and then take Janet Jackson up to the other end for a proper recharge. But I can't get this car open because the lock is properly frozen. Can't force it. And that's what life in the yard has become at this time of the year. Just charging batteries, trying to move stuff around, getting cold, and getting no progress because of that. So forgive me if I'm being a bit miserable today, but on top of all this, I'm cold as well. And that's the last bit of the water, which I'll try on the door lock. Well, I've never known that to happen before. Right, I'm in this now, and the alarm is off, but not enough battery in this one either. And again, this one was fully charged just a couple of days ago. So yes, I'm getting to the point of giving up, which obviously sounds rather dramatic and negative, but that's 45 minutes spent today so far just to try and get a couple of cars going so they can be sold without any extra, there's nothing else to it. This is just keeping it going. That's the point. You just there comes a point where there isn't really any point in taking these cars on, having them knocking around, having to do all this kind of stuff, and then selling them for a couple of £100 profit, because it just doesn't pay. It doesn't pay the landlord either. My landlord is on my back again at the moment because I've not been able to pay him for a couple of weeks, because I've not sold anything since before Christmas. The only thing I did was manage to sell Eric for £50. Right, so now we have Harry running as well. That's 2 cars running, ready to have their batteries charged. But even then it's not as simple as that, because the windscreens and all the glass is frozen over. And I mean properly frozen as well. That is hardened on the inside as well. That means they just actually have to sit and idle for a while just to get the... This is ridiculous, honestly. I really don't know what I'm doing this for. Now, anyway, we have this issue now with Janet, where the fuel is about to run out, realistically. They don't mess about these, and then once they run out, you've got the faffle. Yeah, that's it. Of bleeding it. The Honda engine, of course, will actually produce some heat, which would be great for clearing this screen. And just look at that. I mean, that is crunchy. You can't move those. Try and put your wipers on, it's going to break the motor and bend the arm. So it simply does have to be left there. Usually when things are pretty shite, there's something good just to come around the corner. So that's correct this time. Well, that's something. Just gone down and got some water. Taps weren't frozen after all. Some potential good news here. I have somebody wanting to come and look at the Golf today, and that means I've got to get this one going as well. Another battery issue. This time the battery's not actually very good in this one anyway, so it is prone to, if it's not, it was okay when I first picked it up and started it again the next day. I could do it was a bit slow, but it's going to be goose, to be honest. So that's all part of the deal. Obviously I can't get the door open, so I might just wait till this afternoon before dealing with that. As to be expected, we have some jolly good proper heat in here now anyway. That didn't take long. That's why I prefer petrol in the winter. Well, one of the reasons anyway. Deciding to move Harry Seacombe down here so I can get the other one, Jackson. But I'll put it down here. Then I realised my mistake. Pointing downhill, that's when it runs out of petrol. But look, getting back up the hill again, it just doesn't really want to go. And then suddenly fully committed to being in the corner. Sometimes you just have to find something to sell, and that's exactly what I'm going to do today. Maybe I should sell that car. Yeah. There's a Honda CR-V over there that wants selling. I'm going to do a test drive on this Honda next week. It belongs to Baroness Mustard, but before I do that, I'm going to give it a jolly good clean up. Not today, next week. The next thing I want you to imagine is Nigel slammed, because you're about to see it. Front end a bit raised, back end a bit dopey. Look at that. What do you reckon? So the reason for this then is a bit of a clear out. Another rather unexciting trip to the scrap metal place. Fair bit of weight in here. All this lot's been left outside, so it's probably not much good. It's all second-hand springs and bits. And in that box there, 2 gearboxes. The question is, will I be able to go up the slope with the back end flopping down like that? Oh, look at that. Perfect, eh? Absolutely no drama. No drama in a Rover 25. That's what you get. one of the best cars for driving in the snow with, unlike the 600. Gosh, that really is low. Oh gosh, that feels really heavy. Brakes don't feel as sharp. Steering feels a bit numb suddenly. Feels a bit lollopy. Just as well I'm not going very far with it. I don't know what the weight is in the back of here, but I've never seen it look like that before. But I have only half a mile to go to the metal recyclers, and I've had less comfortable looking loads than this. This is why for future getting rid of engines and gearboxes and things like that, a diesel pickup with stiffened suspension would be better, because I bet this is over its legal weight limit. But I don't know what it is. I don't know what the weight is, do I? So I can be completely ignorant of it. And just to put things into perspective, I haven't actually stopped talking since setting off, and here I am down Uncouth Road where the metal recyclers are. So it really isn't a very long way for me to go. That's a bit of money my way. A bit less than I was expecting, but I mean weight wise, steel 219 kilos, aluminium, irony aluminium, which is gearboxes, 83 kilos, and batteries 78 kilos. Oddly enough, the steel is 18 pence per kilo, the gearbox is only 22 pence per kilo, so not a great deal of difference there. Batteries 45 pence per kilo, so amounting to £91. That will mean I can go shopping tonight. And it also gave me a great Facebook post where I can basically pretend that Nigel is on coilovers. Whoa, that's very, very slippery just here. And that was so just over 300 kilos in the back. Was it 300 kilos? I can't remember now. Whatever the case, it was definitely enough to make Nigel feel a bit, oh, I don't want to go to school today. But he had to. That's the deal. You have to go to school, whatever the case. Gosh, now suddenly I feel a bit more cheery. This morning I was feeling really quite fed up with things, and what you have to do sometimes is just do something about it. And I don't have to wait for anybody else to actually make that £91. And it's cleared a bit of space up. Those batteries, all tested, all dead. Those suspension legs, all come off cars with the full intention of keeping them for spares, but you know, nobody's ever asked me for a suspension leg. Not for a 25 anyway, or a streetwise, just 75s for some reason. Well done, Nigel. But the unfortunate part is the mess left behind. Box can come out. That's dealt with, but look at that. Ugh, look at that, look at that. Oh gosh, what a mess. What a mess everywhere. And also, to compound this, the leak that I tried to fix with a new gasket hasn't worked. 382 kilos was the weight in the back of there then. 382. Do you know what's funny? When I've weighed in cars that I've stripped down to a bare shell, so there's nothing left, they only usually weigh about 400. And you need a truck to get rid of them. Rod Stewart. Good cleanup. Well, I say good cleanup. Some of the steam cleaning malarkey on the go because of the mould on the seats. We don't want to photograph mould, do we? No, we don't. That and a quick vacuum, and that's it really. No access to water, so I can't. Well, I mean, I could actually use a bucket, but I don't want to be getting my hands in the bucket. Of cold water. Anyway, not too bad when it's a hose, but a bucket, no. Anyway, photographs taken of Rod, and now to move on to Betty again, because Betty might have somebody coming to have a look at it today. And one of the reasons why I'm talking from this end of the yard is because of the radio next door, which, now I've said it's about copywritten music, but actually it's more than that, because years and years back, going back as far as 5 years, it was the same thing, same radio station, same time, same songs. So consider this, it's been the same 40 songs or so I've just had to endure, the same dribble, the same, oh God, it's depressing. Yeah, that's what the problem is for me. I think more than the fact that it's copywritten. I just don't understand how you can carry on having that on in the background and not have the irresistible urge to just switch the off. Right, so Betty, now the battery is going to need a charge on this as well. The battery isn't good enough, so it's, oh shit. This big green tarp's becoming a bit of a pest actually, because it's very slippery. Look at that face staring up at me from the snow. That's scary. Could do with knowing for definite this chap is actually turning up really, because otherwise I'm pulling this car out for no reason and it's perfectly happy where it is. Look at all this Kendall mint cake everywhere. That's what it looks like, isn't it? Now, will the smelly golf come out without slipping on this tarp? I think the only way to do it is to gather a little bit of speed first before I get to the tarp, because it's once it gets to that, it will slip. That is very, very slippery. There's no getting around it. It will not drive on that. Here we go. Ooh. That's how you do it. This may be a little warm-up opportunity. So I'm waiting now for this chap to turn up at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock has gone, and perhaps I should have gone as well. Well, look at that. Venus? Is it Venus? Can't really wait any longer. It's too cold. I mean, he hasn't answered the message either about if he's still coming or not. So I can take that as he's not. So, just one thing I'm going to do before I go home then. I'm going to detail the fridge. That's right, a fridge like this will get a bit mucky after a while. You get bits of mouldy stuff happening. There's not really a great deal going on in there. In fact, this fridge is mostly redundant. I have milk in there. I'll keep something in there to eat. That one's chucking away, and that bowl is kept for stuff. Wagon wheel's probably never going to get eaten. Colin's still in there. There's a small bottle of beer. So, if I detail the fridge, maybe I'll be encouraged to put more food in it. Okay, that's the end of today. Oh, I've stalled it. The end of a rather strange workday. I mean, it wasn't actually strange, but started off as such an uneventful day and worked out okay in the end. Even though I've had the disappointment of waiting in for somebody to turn up to buy a Volkswagen Golf. You don't expect people to turn up anyway, do you? You just don't. That is the end of today's video as I drive home in the dark in -3 conditions. Hoping for an even better day tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being a channel member. Just thank you, thank you, thank you. Gosh, I should have got to let this windscreen demist first. End of video. Please switch off.